This is Ruthie of Ruthie K's and so much talk where we talk about sewing and alterations and tailoring and helping you to understand what happens with all of that and how you need it and how you can use it. We have been doing a series here on weddings, and this part is on budgeting for your wedding gown or your wedding garment. But we're kind of focused on wedding gowns because so many people are getting engaged and starting to look for their wedding gown right now. Budgeting for wedding gowns needs to be included in your wedding gown budget. Here's the basic rule. You're not going to walk in to a bridal boutique and that dress is going to fit you perfectly. It just doesn't happen 98% of the time. You will need something. You will need it hemmed, most common one. You probably will want it bustled if it has a train. And then there are multiple other things that may need to be done to the dress to fit you. And why we talk about this is because in the years I worked at a bridal store, I worked at one for 3 years as an alterationist. Most people would come in and they'd have their budget for their wedding gown, and that's all they had budgeted was literally their wedding gown. So if you're going to spend, for example, true example, $2,500 for a Vera Wang wedding dress, you're really going to want it to fit. That's a lot of money to put out for a day where you want to look absolutely your best, and you have to just take it like it is off the rack. So you want to be sure that you are budgeting in money to pay for your alterations. And if you only have $2,500 to pay for that wedding gown, then what else do you need to consider? Because when we say pay for your wedding gown, we're thinking veil, maybe a crown, possibly jewelry, definitely shoes, slip, and undergarments. But we don't think about alterations. So what do alterations cost in comparison to your wedding gown? They may cost the amount of your wedding gown. They truly may, based on what your wedding gown looks a lot like and how closely it fits you to start out with. I know that sounds kind of weird. And when you go into a bridal boutique, they're going to have their training into what to look for. As a seamstress and alterationist, what I want you to do is fit your biggest part. If you want a mermaid gown and you're really busty, fit the bust. We can bring everything else in. If you have more hip than you have anything else, fit the hips. If you have a dress that has a bodice on it to where you have a sleeve line, fit your shoulders if those are your biggest part. Okay? So what we're looking at is you fitting shoulders, bust, waist, hips. What's your biggest part? And get it as close as you can in size. In the last 3 years, especially since we really got through most of the COVID stuff with stores being open and all, I have seen a lot of wedding gowns that come in way too big. And that's because most wedding boutique personnel are trained that, yeah, this is the size you tried on, but we're going to buy it 2 sizes up because that's what you actually need. Not necessarily true. If you go in and try on that wedding gown and it actually fits you, but they're going to order you one, don't go up more than a size unless it doesn't fit you and you have to make a guess. Then you are reliant upon that person helping you to determine what it is that you need. If you could get a seamstress to help you with that fitting of the wedding gown, because some places do have seamstresses on site. Sometimes they're better able to help you with a more accurate figure because, if I show that you don't zip by this much, I know that that's basically a size and a half to two sizes up. But I also know that I'm going to have an inch and a half to almost 2 inches that I can bring out on the side seams. So I personally would probably only move you up one size from what you tried on. Um, so experience in your salespeople is a big thing, and yes, you have to go with what they have. But to the best of your ability, the closer you can get it to fitting you, the one less alterations you have, and two, the better it's going to fit. Okay, because if you bring me a dress two sizes up, we're going to have a lot of alterations on that. So those are the pieces of budgeting that you need to be aware of. At our shop in particular, I can't answer for other people. Many of them are much more than this. Our average bride in the last year paid about $300 to $500 in alterations. So that's at my shop. But you figure if you buy a $1,500 wedding gown, calculate in about 500 at least in alterations. And again, that'll depend on how close it fits you. Also, remember, you have to have shoes. You have to have something on your hair. If it's going to be flowers, that can be part of your flower budget. Excellent. If it's a veil, then you're going to need to have that as part of your budget. And if you're going to want specific jewelry, you have to have that as part of your budget. If you want add-on sleeves, that's going to cost you a little more to your dress. So if you found this beautiful dress and it's strapless, remember you're going to have to pay something to get something to be sleeves. Whether it's a jacket, a little blouse to wear over it, or you get add-on sleeves. So when you're budgeting for your wedding gown, think about all the pieces you need to go with your wedding gown and including your alterations. Anything to add, Anna?
Nope, that pretty much covered it, I think.
Okay.
I was trying to think of some of our commonly asked questions. Because we regularly get asked for the estimate, which you answered. Trying to think of any like special, specific stories that we had. We had a bride, I think this was 2 years ago now, who was getting married on the beach and was planning on getting into the surf, and there were specific alterations she chose not to get because she was already going to be ruining the gown anyway.
True.
So those are things to keep into consideration.
You don't need a bustle if you're not going to wear your dress throughout the reception.
Correct. There you go.
And a lot of times some people will push towards that bustle. But it's based a bustle, for example, can have anywhere from 3 points minimum
Mm-hmm.
to
12. So, because I'm trying to remember, I think one of
oh,
our most
examples.
complicated bustles was like 15 points.
Yes, but I have actually done them when I worked for the bridal salon up to 30 pinch points.
Good gracious. I bet it
I
looks
personally,
gorgeous.
it was absolutely beautiful. But unless you're going to hire somebody to actually come do your bustle,
Yeah,
I try to make them very doable, not just
because
pretty.
yeah, exactly. Because
Because,
you
yeah,
want it to be functional,
and pretty.
easy to follow up
So,
on.
and the thing is, I've seen some pretty incredible reels of weddings where the
Uh-oh.
the people who put up the bustle didn't do it very well, probably because of the simple fact that they didn't know how, or the drinking started a little too soon before the bustle was put up. So, yeah, that is an issue. So this is Ruthie and Anna of Ruthie K's with so much talking about sewing and alterations.